Hello, everybody. Welcome to the new moon in Pisces. Its curtain doesn't like to stay in place. So we're going to feel a nice bit of relief from the new moon in Pisces, definitely compared to that full moon in Leo that we had a couple weeks ago. Radically different, even though the world also feels radically different in the last 2 weeks. Perhaps that full moon was so intense because in the back of our mind, we could feel this, strategic creeping up kind of energy. And now it's blown open. Now there's nothing to hide, right? We're waiting and wondering. We're nervous about the world. Of course, we're feeling compassion for a lot of people in the Ukraine. But at the same time, it doesn't have this feeling of like something impending, something hanging like the full moon did. And it all depends on your particular chart, how intense it was, where it hit you. For me, and I know for a couple of friends out there listening, it hit directly by degree. So it moved a lot of things forward inside of us. Not easy things, but it does move things forward. So we're going to take a look at a few charts today. We're going to look at the chart of the new moon, but I also have the chart of Vladimir Putin. We're just going to take a little peek at what might be going on with him. And I also have the chart of the Ukraine. And I'm bringing that up because we're going to take a look at what transits are hitting all of these things at once. So because I know everyone I speak to is very concerned or having a hard time disengaging or not feeling fear or dismay or whatever range of emotion because of the global events, we'll bring that into the personal as well with this reading. So we'll do our tarot, and of course we'll do a reading for each sign. But first I want to really dig in to these 3 charts, and maybe it'll have parallels for your life, since everything is somehow connected. I'm just putting some nice sage before we go. So you might feel the need to also smudge or sage. When the energy is this heavy on all of us, it's always a good idea to do a little bit of a cleanse. Sometimes it's hard to know what energy is ours and what energy belongs to something else, something collective that is not us personally. All right, I will just set up that chart and we'll share the screen. Here we go. All right. So here's our new moon in Pisces chart, and it is cast for New York, which is Eastern time zone. So once again, as I always say, if you're in the Eastern time zone, then the ascendant, the rising sign, all the house placements that I'm going to talk about, they make sense for us. If we were to relocate this chart, let's say perhaps to Kiev. I'm having a hard time saying it in the Ukrainian way for some reason. Then it would play out differently. But we'll see with the chart I'm going to show you of Putin and of Ukraine. That will be their birth chart, and then on the outside will be where the current planets are falling, and that's going to tell us what is aspecting their particular charts and lives. But for now, let's just do the general look for all of us and see what's going on. So you see a lot of blue lines. The blue lines, if you've been watching my other videos, the blue lines are where there's harmony. We only have one little red line, little tiny. So this means overall, this new moon has a pretty, thank goodness, harmonious, calming, easy flow to it. Just one little placement of opposition or conflict. So it's easier to manage. It's going to be a lot easier to find what headspace to be in during this time. The other thing I want to say before we dig in is that sometimes, you know, if you're really empathic, you feel bad, like, why am I supposed to feel good here, or feel in flow or relaxed? Or, you know, if anything in this chart talks about peace or things going well, how can I feel that way when there's people suffering? A lot of empaths feel that. Why should I be happy if other people aren't happy? If anybody's suffering with that kind of sort of guilt, perhaps, it's a weird thing to describe, but I sort of call it like survivor's guilt. Like, if you survived a plane crash and other people didn't, why do I get to survive and they don't? You know, and we might be asking ourselves that. There's a lot of Pisces planets in the sky right now: Sun, Moon, Jupiter, and Neptune. Pisces is like the ultimate dissolving of your own ego, to feel the oneness or the plight of others, and they can sacrifice themselves for others. If you've known many Pisces where you have Pisces placements, it's the sign of the martyr a lot of the time. You can give too much of yourself to your own detriment. So there's a high level of compassion in the air right now, and empathy. But as I said, we have to also be careful not to sabotage our own well-being in the process of feeling compassion for others. And it's really, really hard right now when we're being shown footage of people huddling in metro stations as bomb shelters. So how is that ever fair, that we're over here, we're in different parts of the world, and we're just going about our lives and getting back to eating out in restaurants again? Or it isn't fair. It isn't, and never will be. You know, there will always be people doing well, and there'll always be people who are suffering. This is why, personally, I find it helpful to come back to some of the Buddhist practices of meditation, and with just the basic overall premise that the Buddhists accept that there is suffering in life. No one avoids suffering. And life doesn't mean that it's about constantly suffering. When things are good and you feel well and happy, you live it, you take it, you know, you allow it, you're present with it, it's pleasurable, it feels good. You let it happen, you fill yourself with it. When it wanes, you have to learn to let it go. It arises and passes, it's temporary. So is suffering. Even though suffering energy obviously is a lot more intense, more dense, it's harder for it to just arise and pass quickly, isn't it? Which doesn't mean that it couldn't. It's just much harder to do. But this is the practice, you know, of coming back to meditation and mindfulness and present moment, is so that gradually, you know, we build the neural pathways that help us find a little more of that peaceful center, so that when you see suffering, you can be like, oh, the suffering. Okay. Oh, look, joy. Wow, that was fun. All right, let it pass. Let it rise, let it pass, without getting as attached to your pleasure or pain. This is where, you know, the karma, the difficulty starts, is when we start craving or avoiding. So if you're like, I don't want to hear about it, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to feel that, I don't want to, right? We all know that one, we all do it. If you suppress it too much, you create another problem, another pain, another form of suffering. And if you're always craving pleasure and you don't want your pleasure to end, or your high, or your productivity, or whatever it is that you're liking, you don't want to stop, and you start doing things to sustain it. Yeah, I'm guilty of that one. I'll like start eating sugar to keep my energy high because I don't want to stop. I don't want to admit I'm tired or that it's time to leave it for another day. So I pump myself with sugar. I've gotten better at it, but that's my vice. So I'm sure you can relate to that one. So, you know, my philosophical note for today about everything going on in the world with all the Pisces planets that are just going to want to drink in the pain of the world and feel bad for everyone. It's beautiful to have that level of compassion, but it has to come also with like this willingness to let it go too. If you watch something and you feel a moment of sadness, you want to cry, or you feel like, oh, that would be awful. You put yourself in those people's shoes for a minute, you know, feel it, send out some sort of good thoughts or prayer, and then try to let it go from your body and your system. Because taking it on when it's not even you that's living it is detrimental to your own health and well-being and your mind and your mental health. And ironically doesn't make us any more effective to do anything. We have this weird idea, at least I do, and I think a lot of people do. And I don't know if it's in the West or if it's just a, you know, a Judeo-Christian thing, or I don't know where we get it from, but we have this idea that to care means to take on and to almost bleed for the other person, sacrifice yourself for the other person. Whereas compassion, as I understand it in the Buddhist sense, is more just a recognition, like, hello, brother, sister, human. I see your suffering. I suffer too, and I see your suffering. And I'm sorry that you're suffering. But there's like an acceptance that we all do, and there's nothing you did wrong. You don't deserve it. There's no punishment. It's just part of life. And here you are, and it's happening to you right now. It's also happened to me. I recognize that. And you see, it's very different. Like, you can be effective. You're aware, you're watching what's going on, you're witnessing what's going on in another person. You're not shutting it down, but you're also not going, you know, and you're not like coming undone for the other person either, because that doesn't help you or them. So I think this is a big theme of this new moon, if I may, because there's so much of a cluster in Pisces. These heartstrings will be pulled on. And that's just one side of it that might be a little tougher, but the rest of it's really quite beautiful. So if we take a look here, we've got 12 degrees of sun, moon in Pisces, 14 degrees Jupiter, and then 22 degrees Neptune. Now, that much Pisces, if this were a person born on that day, total cat lady, totally, you know, this person will go out and rescue others, try to save others, fix others, volunteer. Could also be a very artistic or creative soul, very much. Could be quite poetic, could be quite imaginative. So this is really a great side of yourself to tap into for this new moon. And it's also a great way to cope with any intense emotions. If you're wondering, well, what the heck do I do with myself if I'm not online where I'm exposed and bombarded with news right now and fear? What do I do with myself? Well, I encourage you to try to write, journal, write a poem, write a song. If you play music, go play your music. If you like to paint, go do that. If you want to redecorate, or if you want to, I don't care, just even shopping for something online that encourages your creative side, like maybe you just love tiny houses, just go get lost in tiny house design so that your creative imagination is activated fully. That's a great positive use of this energy. If you do have it in you to volunteer or to give, perfect. You know, I'm sure with these planets and these circumstances, we're already seeing an outpouring of support. I'm sure we're going to see an even more outpouring of goodwill. I mean, look at some of the neighboring countries, how they have met people and hosted them with their animals coming across the border. They have, you know, food all ready to go. They're just saying, yes, come on in. You need someplace to go, come to us. You know, that's a very Piscean thing to do. Ignoring or suspending your own needs because of the needs of another, you know, whereas other countries, for example, the UK are like, we're not going to take you unless you can have a certain amount of proof of income. That's not a Pisces kind of response, you know. Poland is acting more like a Pisces response, just feeding people and waiving certain bureaucracy and just come. You know, that's very Piscean. So you might find that's going to happen maybe to people close to you. Maybe there's someone right in your backyard, you know, who needs a hug, who you can invite in for a tea, who you can make a meal for, who maybe you're the one who needs that, and somebody will just give or outpour towards you. It's a very giving, generous chart here emotionally, because we have so much water going on. So besides these 4 planets in Pisces, it's making, look at that, a perfect trine with the South Node in Scorpio, which is a water sign. And even though it's not drawn, the lines did not draw for some dumb reason. 12 and 12, you see, and 14, all of these planets then actually make a trine with the rising sign, which is Cancer. Cancer is like the mother of the zodiac. Cancer rising is like, my heart is on my sleeve, my emotions are on my sleeve. Cancer rising, you can't hide how you feel if you tried. It's very nurturing. It's very thoughtful. It's very, come get a hug, mama bear, let's warm you up. Come on inside. That's okay, I'll do that for you. This is the vibe of this new moon. Thank goodness. We all need this. We all need this level of nurturing. So maybe you're the nurturer this time. If you're feeling strong and well, even if you're not, maybe you have moments where you could be nurturing to somebody near you. If you can do it on a grander scale in your own community and you feel inspired to, go for it. Beautiful, wonderful, do it. You know, hopefully we're going to see this in terms of the political situation. And there's just an enormous sense of caring and oneness in the air right now. Quite moved when I look at this chart, to be honest with you. We have our classic Saturn and Uranus square, which we've seen, you know, the last few moons. So this is an upheaval type of energy, right? Uranus and Taurus with those little earthquakes and restructuring our day-to-day, our sense of security, our monetary system, our food system, you know, our work days, our typical routines. Uranus is going to be in Taurus still for a few more years. So this is the new normal, is that nothing's going to be quite what it was. And there could be a lot of innovation when it comes to Uranus and Taurus, anything in that area. So we might see new structures to our work weeks and our work days. We're already seeing a demand for it. We're already working online a lot, but there'll be more. There'll be more different, new, innovative ways that people come up with to restructure how people work, how our banking system and our money functions, how we grow our food, how we cook. This is the level of upheaval and innovation that we're going through in society for a few years now and continuing a few more. Then you have Saturn coming along here, and it's right next to Mercury in Aquarius. And Saturn in Aquarius, as long, you know, and Pluto will be going in there in a couple of years. It's all about sort of redefining your tribe. Who's my tribe? And we're seeing this, right? We're seeing it through division. And it's not pleasant. At the same time, though, ask yourself, or be honest, if there weren't this level of division right now, would I have seen so clearly and deeply what my values are, and therefore what my friends or my family's values truly are? I don't think you can. I don't think that many people go that deeply in their relationships to discover that until there's a critical issue. And we've had it with many, many things where there's dividing lines of opinions and fears. And it shows the underlying values that people have. So Saturn and Mercury in Aquarius, you know, they definitely want a new world. They want a more inclusive world. And we're all learning that lesson right now of how to be more inclusive. And of course, there are pushback. There's pushback. There's radical pushback because the old values system is crumbling. And there's many people who have been on the other side for years waiting for this to happen and wishing things could be more egalitarian and inclusive and diverse. But there's still so much fear in the core of a lot of people in society, and a lot of them are quiet. But we're starting, of course, to see over the last, I don't know how many years, but the last few years for sure, more people feeling entitled and to the radical backlash opinions that sort of go against this diversity, this fear of, you know, where's my place in things if I allow this diversity to have? Where's my power if I allow this diversity? Who am I if I allow these new values and these new ways of seeing life or seeing people? Who the hell am I if I don't have that old structure to go on that was very black and white or crystal clear to them? It's enormously scary for people to change their paradigm. And this is, to me, what we're going through over the last few years, and it's intensifying now. And it'll continue to intensify. Pluto in Aquarius, 2024, and I have to double check how many years it's there, but Pluto's there at least a decade, if not sometimes two. It's going to be this is our initiation with Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus and Taurus squaring off with each other, dissolving an old world and birthing a new one. And just like anything, when things dissolve or things are birthed, we can feel very unsettled, desperate, panicky, anxious, lost. It increases our coping mechanisms, you know, so be patient with yourself with that. If your coping mechanisms are skyrocketing again with the latest news, you can calm it down, you can tame it again. And so this is the only sort of tension that we have in this chart. And as I said, it's been an ongoing tension for a while that we're sort of getting used to, maybe. So the overall feeling, I would say, of this new moon is going to be more the peaceful, generous, loving, tender, creative, empathic side of this lovely Pisces moon. As you can see, there's some other beautiful blue lines that are drawn here as well. Uranus that we just mentioned, this upheaval. It's making great aspects to all the Pisces planets. So there might be some of us that are feeling or starting to feel there's actually some benefits to, there's good sides to this level of upheaval and dissolution. It allows some freedom for something else to come through that in the old way there wasn't room. So with Uranus touching Sun, Moon, and Jupiter in Pisces, wow, creativity could do something really innovative with that energy. Really out there, really groundbreaking. Could be a great time for any of you who do anything artistic. And even if you're not an artist, like just try your hand at something you haven't done. Write something down. You never know how profound it might end up being down the road. Put together a song, craft something, I don't care. Or like I said, do some research, look up something online, find new music. You might tap into something that you just love, that you can't believe how much you love it. But you need to expose yourself to something. Really great time for inspiration that way. Now, the other lines that are very nice here is take a look at this. We have, look at this alignment, 27 degrees. Venus, Mars, and Pluto, all in Capricorn, aligned. That's powerful, man. Venus, our desires. What do you desire? Think of desire as your nature. Venus in Capricorn, that is an ambitious lady. That is a power player lady. She's wearing discreet designer clothes. She's got her own money. Venus in Capricorn. CEO kind of woman, okay? Desires to get ahead, desires status, to be seen, ambitious, works hard for it. Mars in Capricorn. Mars in Capricorn is exalted because Capricorn has so much control, and Mars is normally considered like wild, right? Wild, fiery, explosive. So Capricorn is the most self-controlled Mars of all, which means it's formidable. Mars in Capricorn can run the 50K marathon or whatever, because they have thought and planned, and they know how to set their mind for the long haul. So you add Venus and Mars together, the desire and the sheer will. And then you add Pluto, extremely powerful and transformational energy. And you have a combination that can change the world 180. Maybe that's what we're seeing right now. It can be applied in good ways in our lives, and it can be applied in destructive ways. Pluto and Mars together can easily represent explosions like we're seeing in the Ukraine, but it can also represent somebody who's, who's decided it's not too late. I'm going to do that. And they do. It's like an against all odds kind of energy. You have the will and the strength and the follow through to do something against all odds. So what in your life might you relate to with that statement when I say, what do you suddenly have the strength to do against all odds? For me, it's not so much in like actions or money or stuff or physical. For me, it's been, I suddenly have found that center and that will that has helped me reclaim my self-respect and self-esteem on a new level than in a long time. And that's a powerful will. I know how I want to be treated and how I deserve to be treated. That wasn't always clear. As an empath, I would get lost and torn into someone else's life and someone else's story. And I would always understand where they were coming from. And so I was compromising myself to keep relationships flowing. And it took a lot. It took my cat passing. It took the grief of my cat, and it knocked me out. You probably saw in my last video, I was looking pretty tired and weak. It knocked me out to cope with the loss and the anxiety that came with that loss. But it also centered me so deeply again. And so it's given me a power that I didn't feel I had. So where can you relate to that kind of reclaiming, that kind of will in your life? And then interestingly, look at that. It makes a good aspect here to the South Node in Scorpio, and mainly makes a good aspect to the North Node in Taurus. Now, this North Node in Taurus is ironically the opposite of Uranus. The North Node in Taurus means that we have to get off this cycle of constant upheaval and destruction and going deeper down the rabbit hole and revisiting everything again and again and again and again. That's the South Node in Scorpio. And we have to come to this place where you choose to have some loyalty, some stability, and some sense of security, and some usually clarity about what you value is what leads you to that security. Whereas the South Node, or the past life thing we're all working out now, is always stirring it up. What if that's the truth? Oh, let's go down there. What if that's the truth? Let's go down this well. What if, oh, but what if I missed something and that's not, and then, and it's great to do that level of work, you know, with that Scorpio energy. But when the South Node is there, it means that we keep trying and trying and diving and diving and diving, and it's time to come up for air. And it's time to say, I've done the introspection. I've tried on this thing for size and that paradigm for size. And I've looked at deeply, I've researched how this goes and how that goes. Okay, now I have to emerge and say, that's what I value. And I'm going to build my life around those values. And I'm going to have my security or my loyalties or my tribe around me, or my place, my land, that's what we're going for right now, is the North Node in Taurus. All of us are trying to figure that out. All of us are in the upheaval, or at least a lot of us. And we're all trying to go towards that sense of security. But it's not going to be security just based on, oh, you know, my things are back to normal. It's not that. You know, if we had a sense of security based on the way the world worked before, then you'll be struggling, because it's not going to work that way anymore. We have to find a new one. And, you know, that's really profoundly making a lot of us question every level of life. Thus, this profound introspection. And so if you are inclined to open up to somebody and talk about the upheaval that you're going through, the ideas that you have, what a lovely new moon for that, with all of the compassion that's in the air with Pisces, you know, with all of this beautiful Cancer rising energy. You'll probably find, you know, a soft ear. You'll probably gravitate towards other empathic or sensitive people to share it with, who receive you, who help calm you or help you express it or relieve your emotions about it. That's really in the air. So I would really encourage you to either be that for someone, or to reach out and receive it if you need it. And the other side of it, like I said, is really wonderful time for any sense of self-expression, or whether it's your own or whether you're discovering others. But Isn't it amazing sometimes when you're feeling like this and you feel a bit lost and you stumble on like a new band and you're like, I never knew about these. And you just, now you've suddenly got great new music that uplifts you, and you can just get lost in your own head and your music for a while, calm your nerves, make you feel something different about life. Or maybe this will lead you to an amazing documentary on something that just blows your mind. Like, people are doing what? I didn't know that was possible. So much of that Pisces energy can be positively used for compassion for others, but can really, really be positively used for imagination, imagining a new world, visualizing the life you want, visualizing peace, visualizing good outcomes, visualizing, what does my new security look like? What does that life, what's that look like where I'm feeling really good? And then to have the courage to let go and say, and be honest about your current life, where maybe it's not aligning with that vision, and to be okay to let some of it go. Yeah. Let's take a quick look now at the chart of Mr. Putin. Will it let me change screens here? There he is. All right, let's just take a quick little look. And we'll look at the transits. Does it give it to me? Yes, good. So the transits are the green planets all around the outside, and this is the core of his chart. So October 7th, 1952, he's a Libra. Could you imagine this guy is a Libra? I was amazed when I found out. He's the least Libra-like person that I could think of, but there he is. So we're going to look at, why does he turn out to be the way he is when he's a Libra? Where's the tension in this guy's chart? Because there is. And he's born in 52, so he's the year of the dragon. We definitely can see the dragon element to him, can't we? So what we have here, look at all the red lines. This is inner conflict. It's got quite a bit of it. It's got some things that flow as well. Now, look over here. Here's the sun. It's in Libra. Then he's got Saturn in Libra, Mercury in Libra, and Neptune in Libra. And these three planets are all in his 12th house. The 12th house is the hidden, the subconscious, the energy that we are usually not aware of in ourselves. And therefore, we act out unconsciously. Many people, though, that have a lot of 12th house planets are very private and introverted. And they do a great deal of mental, well, you could say mental anguish. I would expect with that chart that there would be a lot of hidden or suppressed secrets with Neptune and Saturn there. Mercury there, his communication planet, is in the unconscious placement in the chart. He doesn't speak easily. He would be an overthinker, times 50. Now, we can certainly see that side of him, can't we? You look at him and you're like, he's an overthinker? Oh, yeah. Plotting, look at all the energy of strategy and plotting. There's a lot of element of, with Neptune is there as well, of illusion, like struggling with sense of, what's real and what's not, and very likely projecting it outwards. So he might have some sort of very private or suppressed idealism or dream or delusion of his ego, his power, or who he is. Could be coming from that. He has Scorpio as his rising sign. So that's where I think he gets that, we always see pictures of him with his shirt off on a horse or taming a bear or whatever he's doing. I mean, he radiates this sort of, overly trying too hard masculine macho-ness. This is very much a Scorpio rising thing. The sexuality is very prominent. And then he has Venus. So his desire nature, right on the ascendant, we see that Venus in Scorpio. So, a lot of powerful people will also have a strong sexual energy. And I think he definitely has that. Now, it's interesting here, he has the moon in Gemini, which I tend to have a difficult time with, because the moon in Gemini is not very emotional. It's actually quite detached. It's an air sign, and it's a duality sign. So a lot of people with the moon in Gemini are very restless, very bored easily, like ADHD, bouncing off the walls kind of deep down. They also would struggle a lot, with who's who and what's what and how should I be, if I need to get my way this way and that way. It would be a very chameleon-like to have the moon in Gemini. Super charming and chameleon-like. But again, the moon in Gemini is usually not a very happy placement. It can lead to a lot of, if you think about it, as your emotional nature has a duality or a Jekyll and Hyde to it. Imagine the distress of that, bouncing around in your mind all the time. Very hard to know what your needs are and how to meet your needs. You're constantly shifting and changing. And so it's not a very stable or trustworthy moon. And interestingly, we have the North Node that it would have hit that moon not too long ago. The node moves backwards. It was in Gemini, and now it's going into Taurus. So it means that this North Node was hitting his moon pretty recently, like over the last few months. So normally I would say the person would have, his moon or his needs, right, would have been activated in a strong way. And so again, for me, it just begs the question of, is he invading because he has some grandiose idea of himself and he's trying to meet his own personal needs? The other interesting thing too is he's got Uranus going through his 7th house, which very unstable with, because its 7th house is marriages, partnerships, and open enemies. And Uranus is like a wild card, right? Explosions, like we said, little earthquakes going off. So very unpredictable time for him as far as alliances. Like, that's a very eye-opening thing to look at that. I didn't look at that till just now. That actually makes me feel a little reassured. Because it just shows that none of the alliances he makes are stable. And that includes whatever he's trying to do with China behind the scenes, or whatever he's trying to do with anybody. It might hold for a while and then all changes. There's nothing steady about it. He has Jupiter natally in Taurus here. And as we see, Uranus is creeping up on that. It could still take, over another year before it hits that. But that would be a point to look for in terms of what goes on with him, whether that's with Russia or the political stage, we don't know, or just his own personal life, but we could expect something explosive as an alliance, or the dissolving of an alliance around that time. And then he has this cluster again in Libra squaring off with Uranus natally in Cancer. again, like just a great restlessness. This is interesting here too. The planet that rules the top of this chart here is Pluto in Leo. Now that's the image he projects a lot outwards. This would be, that's like a recipe for a tyrant, or it's a king with way too much power. Pluto in Leo. And it's right at the top of his chart and his career. If I didn't know it was him and I looked at this chart, I would say this man will rise to power. He's meant to rise to power. How does he use it? Well, we don't know. That's where you look at how the other planets play out. Now, it's interesting because this Pluto in Leo, which would be just ultimately narcissistic, okay? It's good to be king. Yeah. Now it's making a positive aspect to Mars in Sagittarius, which is all about freedom and expansion and globalizing and traveling and I'll just go do it when I want it and grab it. I'll just wing it. So it's an interesting contrast to all of this inward air sign, beehive he's got going on with his 12th house and his moon in Gemini. It's just like somebody who's just very perturbed and idealistic, and then this, I just want it, so I'll go do it because I'm entitled to it kind of power. Interesting. So what's going on in his transits? He's got he's got Pluto. He's got Pluto right down here in his 3rd house, which relates to communication, but also siblings and your local communities. So, I'm just humming and hawing because that aspect sort of makes me feel that he will probably stay close by in his military action. Community means, your neighboring, in this case, your neighboring borders, which would sort of say, I don't think he's interested in activating anything. It's not the 9th house being activated, which is foreign lands. It's local, so borders that touch their own. Lots of things going through that house. And Saturn is hitting his north node. Would you look at that? Sorry, I hope this is interesting to everyone. Anyway, I find it fascinating. So the north node, okay, is his karmic direction. Where does he need to go in this life? What's he here to learn? Now look at that. It is opposite that Pluto. His south node, or past lives, were all about him being, it's all about him and his power and being king and being on top of the world and entitled and everything. But his life lesson is the collective and the community and dissolving his ego. And Saturn is hitting it right now. So he's going to get a life lesson from this. This is why this invasion's not going well. This is not going to end well for him. This is a wake-up call. He picked a really stupid timing. He should have asked an astrologer. Anyway, and he's about to get kicked with all of these planets traveling over that north node over the next little while. Like the moon and Mercury don't last long. Saturn's going to stay there a while, probably another year. And it'll be a while before Pluto hits there, but Venus and Mars are going to come along and kick that pretty soon too. He's got back to back. No, it's about the collective. It's about everybody. It's not about you coming to him. Whew, I'm glad I did this. This makes me happy. All right, let's take a look now at the chart for the Ukraine. Whoop. There we are. There's the chart of the Ukraine. Very interesting. Okay, here we go. So take a look at this. The Sun and Mercury, Venus and Jupiter, all in Leo. Wow. And if you'll notice. Yeah, the sun is at, oh, it's actually 0 degrees Virgo. Okay. So the Ukraine is officially a Virgo, pretty close to the end of Leo though. And that last full moon was 27 Leo. So within 4 degrees of all these planets. So definitely it would have activated the Ukraine regardless. And it's got the moon in Aquarius. Very interesting. So we have, take a look at this. We have Saturn coming up on the moon sign of the Ukraine. So the moon in Aquarius is a very rebellious and strong sign. It's very emotionally detached, and it actually even sort of probably enjoys a fight. So this is very interesting. As you see, that moon is opposite all these other 4 planets. It's a very intense energy. If you had that in your own chart, you would find that it'd be very hard for you to get your needs met because everything's challenging your moon. You'd be very frustrated. And so it's interesting that Saturn comes along and hits this moon at the same time it's hitting Vladimir Putin's chart as well. It's activating a lot of these Aquarian themes. Although in this case, we're seeing that the Ukraine is fighting back. And they're doing it stronger than we thought they would. Interestingly too, look at that. Capricorn rising, the Ukraine. We've had a lot of things challenging Capricorn for a while now, haven't we? But they've gone through the worst of it. 16 degrees. Yeah, you'd have to turn back the clock a few years when Pluto was hitting the rising sign and the North Node, their karma. Uranus and Neptune, all of these things would have been brought, like any kind of, corruption or delusion brought to light as Pluto crosses those. This is going back a few years or several years. I forget now what year the first uprising was. Didn't they say, isn't it 2014? There was something going on with, forgive me, I'm getting lost in my history, but all this to say, Pluto and Mars have already crossed their Uranus, Neptune, which would have been enormous tests for the country, and their rising signs, so their outward image to the world, their North Node, their karmic direction has already been activated. They've already had a lot of these tests, which is quite interesting. It could explain why they're so much stronger now and ready. And now look at this, you're going to have Pluto and Mars hitting Saturn in Aquarius pretty soon. So they, well, Pluto will still take a couple more years to get there. Probably more like 3 years or so before it hits their Saturn, where there could be, again, another defining moment. But Mars is definitely going to hit that, and Venus is going to hit that soon. But with their moon there, I get a feeling they are ready. Oh, and look at that. Look at this, my friends. Pluto in their natal chart, right at the top of the chart, just like Putin, at the same degree. Different sign, but same degree. Pluto has 10 degrees Leo, right on the midheaven, or the outward career, if you will, public image. They have it at 10 degrees Scorpio. Putin has it at 10 degrees Leo. That's an exact square. Power versus power. I'm on top. No, I'm on top. Pluto against Pluto, like duking it out for who is the most powerful here. But Leo versus Scorpio, very different way of fighting, but very fierce, both of them fierce. Putin, though, has his rising sign and his Venus right on that Pluto. So it makes sense to me. He's identifying with it and he's desiring it, and that it is mine. He's entitled to it, you know? Very interesting. And one other last thing that seems interesting to me about this chart is also we have Uranus down here in Taurus passing through house number 3, just like Putin has all these challenges to local communities, local borders, and to communications. And, you know, you could say that Elon Musk gave a nice little Uranus moment, and Anonymous gave a nice little Uranus moment to both by Anonymous intercepting and hacking Russian websites. So that's a very Uranian moment. Your internet's gone. Oops. And then Elon Musk bringing his satellites over the Ukraine. There you go, guys. You're back online. And just all of these tactics of changing street signs so that people get lost, you know, that's a very local community Uranian craziness moment as well, like scrambling things around, unpredictable. Sorry, I love this. Oh, okay. Very interesting. And Ukraine also has Mars in Virgo, as well as that sun that's just in Virgo, but Mars in Virgo also means that it's a very, everything has been very detailed and thought through very precisely. So to me, it looks like they were ready. No one's ever completely ready for what's coming, but it feels to me they were pretty much as ready as they could be. Fascinating stuff. So let's take a look now at our tarot cards. We'll go back to ourselves versus the world here. Let's take a look at the tarot and see what it has to say for this new moon for all of us. I hope as I analyze these charts, you understand why astrology is just amazing. Like, once you understand the language of it and the associations, the detail that it can give you, like it just did there. I mean, wow. Anyway, and I could dive even deeper down the rabbit hole with all of it. I just love it. All right, let's take a look and let's burn some more sage. All right. Hopefully you can see it. Can you see it? There we go. All right, just cleanse the cards a little bit here. What's coming up for this new moon? So our first card here is power. Sun in Capricorn, 4 of discs. So this is all about stability again, power, stability, routines. Also a lot about loneliness or isolation, could be. If you take a look at this card as if you're a drone flying over, it's a castle. Can you see? There's 4 towers. There's the doorway, the entrance, the moat, the water around the castle. So when you think about a castle, we think of, you know, something beautiful and solid, and there's a whole life going on inside the castle, and we protect the castle from dragons and from out intruders and stuff. And at the same time, you know, we hope to feel safe inside the walls of the castle. So there's themes of like cocooning and feeling safe and being in your house. But sometimes, just like this, the courtyard is empty. Sometimes the 4 can be so secure and stable that it's lonely. And we all know we're dealing with themes like that right now. You know, the pandemic has been like that chronically. So, but you might be finding that you're suddenly ready to connect with people again because all of this Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio, you know, planets, it's all like, it's ready to relate and communicate and go out there again. So you might be negotiating that. Next card is Six of Cups, pleasure card. That's a great card. And it's a Scorpio card. Again, it's like pleasure. So how can we find some in the midst of what's going on? What could you do to remind yourself that there's things that are pleasurable in your life or your world? You know, Pisces and all of that stuff we mentioned will help you if you go looking for simple pleasures or sensual pleasures. And it's another card of connecting emotionally. Sometimes this card is like a sexuality card too. Maybe you're starting to feel a little bit of that in the air. Spring, wishing you could meet people. Maybe you're starving for affection. It feels like it's pushing us all to just reconnect again emotionally to others. Look at this. Gosh, what a good read. Nine of Cups, happiness, Pisces card. Definitely it's about opening up, let people in on some level, however you feel comfortable. Try to start dissolving some of that loneliness and let people in. You're going to be a lot happier. And again, if it's not people and you're not ready yet, let in something new. Watch something you haven't, listen to something you haven't, read something new, go to a new neighborhood. Just, it's about like letting barriers and rigidity and loneliness dissolve and letting things new in, letting connection back in. Ace of Swords, look at that, lovely clarity. You might have some brilliant clarity moments, insights, whether it's from a good talk with a friend, whether it's from connecting to the birds when you go outside, whether you have a dream. Pisces can be great for dreaming, meditating, visualizing, but this is lovely, nice, aha, clear moment. Geez, look, two aces, Ace of Wands, clear idea, clear moment, aha, and I'm ready to do something. Let's go do this. I want to, the will, you know, fire, I want it. Go for a run. Take action on the thing. This is lovely. And Prince of Wands. So that could be you, or that could be someone around you. Again, he's super confident. His arms are wide open. He's riding this chariot with the lion. You know, he's very confidently riding towards whatever he wants, feeling fully sure that he can do it. So is that you? Is it someone around you? Take a look at what you feel excited and like a sense of will and a sense of confidence about right now. Look at that. There's the Princess of Wands too. This is crazy. Wow. Okay. The fire element that's coming out of this reading, I'm quite surprised. Okay. So from this act of coming out of your bubble, out of isolation and connecting to things and opening your mindset, imagining something else, visualizing, it looks like we're going to find some strength again, a sense of will, a sense of taking some risks again, coming out of the closet, whatever it is. It's very positive, and especially for self-expression. If any of you are feeling like you want to do something big, design something, draw something, write something, express something you haven't before, write a blog post, I don't care, do it, make your first video, just let it come out. It's time to stop like this inward imploding. It's time to connect again and come out of the shell. And then we have the Emperor. So the Emperor obviously can be a sense of authority, control, power, fatherly figure, governments. Hard to say what that is until I pull the next card, but you might come up against that. You might be dealing with a sense of an inner authoritarian figure in your life as you express your freedom. Maybe it's triggering something. It doesn't mean you actually have to encounter it, but you might. Doesn't mean it's bad either. It's just, it's part of life. You're going to bust open the boundaries. There's always going to be someone going, no, it's not how we do it here. You know, trying to shut it down. So you might encounter a bit of that, but we can't tell until we draw its last card, which is Queen of Cups. So that's a sensitive, gentle, mothery, watery, intuitive energy. This is interesting then. So probably I would say the Emperor versus the Queen of Cups is sort of like, okay, I have my newfound feeling of opening up and connecting and expressing myself coming back again, and I'm excited about it. Okay, so how am I going to handle it? Am I going to have, you know, am I going to be sort of controlled and structured about it, a bit heavy-handed about it? Because sometimes we're nervous, so we drop into this controlling behavior. Or are we going to sort of work with people and be a little more incognito and a little more intuitive and in flow about how we get our new needs met? Quite different response, right? So it's an interesting reading. It's all about new people coming into your life, getting closer to the people that are already around, opening yourself to others, asking, you know, lending an ear or opening up more than you usually do. It's lovely for healing. It's a really healing energy. So let's take a look then at how we could phrase a question for each of the signs. I don't think I'm going to define a question, actually. Nothing is coming 100%. So I feel like the message is pretty clear. So we're just going to pull a card, and whatever random messages come up for your sign based on that card for this new moon. What do you need to hear right now? Something like that. What's your sign need to hear? What's your best advice right now? All right, so Aries, what is your message for this new moon? Okay, and you've got the Eight of Wands, which is all about being spontaneous and athletic and adventuresome and traveling. So Aries, you probably need to get active and get out the door and feel a little more inspired by maybe planning a vacation or doing a short day trip, or being more physically active to explore something in and around you. Mercury in Sagittarius too is all about, like, it can be tackling something that you want to learn, informing yourself more about the world, because Sagittarius is always global. And it can also be just to be careful of, you know, being tactful about things while you're speaking out and expressing your new, you know, self-expression, sorry, your new self-expression. Just be careful of being tactful, because Mercury and Sag can just sort of spit things out that might be funny or true, but could also be offensive to some people. All right, Taurus, what is your message? You got the Queen of Swords. So some of you might be dealing with an older woman around your life. Could be your mother, grandmother, aunt, landlady, someone around who's elderly. or, you know, just getting up there. And she's probably someone who doesn't express her emotions very easily. Usually this is a lady who's very smart, but does not really trust anybody emotionally. So she can, sometimes she might be sensitive deep down, but she can also be a bit cold. And if you're having to deal with her, she's not the easiest to deal with. So, but basically the message would be that you have to deal with this person. So maybe you're making some decisions on how to relate or have boundaries with her, or, you know, you're trying to understand someone's true nature. And this would sort of describe who you're dealing with. She's sort of not exactly who a Taurus would want to exactly gravitate towards. There would usually be sort of a conflict. As I said, she's somebody who's brilliant, but she's a bit difficult. So you'd have to go, she might be a bit prickly, you know, you'd have to be careful and do an awful lot of communicating and negotiating until she feels comfortable, and then things will go smoother for you. Gemini, what is your message? All right, you've got a queen as well. So you've got the Queen of Discs, very different. So always the thing that strikes me with this Queen of Discs is that she's looking away from us. She's very financially secure and she's very comfortable where she is. And she's got her, you know, she's got her ram out here, like her secretary, you know, or her guard. And you, and it's looking at us like, and who are you? And what are you doing here? You know, well, she looks the other way because she doesn't want to be bothered. She doesn't want to confront certain things. She's happy with the security she's built. She does not want to really take a look at changing herself or her life. She wants things to stay as they are. And yet she's very secure and she has a lot to give and she can be very generous at times, but you're not going to change or open her mind. So this might be somebody in your life that you're having a bit of a rough time with, because obviously Gemini, you want people to stay, you want them to stay curious and open and willing to, you know, experiment with different ideas and philosophies, and she isn't willing. She's not going there. So this might be somebody that, you know, you have to find or accept the limits with this person and work to bring out the best side of them and let go a little bit of what you're expecting of them too. All right, Cancers. What is your message? Oh, that's nice. Cancer, you've got the Ace of Cups. This is going to be a lovely new moon. This is all about love and birthing something creative and lovely. So Cancer, maybe you're feeling, maybe this is resonating with you a lot. You're ready to get out the door. You're ready to meet people. Maybe you're ready to date again or fall in love again. Maybe you're ready to rekindle your romance with who you've got, doing something thoughtful. Or if it's not that, then maybe you want to start some sort of creative endeavor. Maybe you're just going to spend the whole day cooking up a storm. Or maybe you're ready to, I don't know, make something that you haven't tried, but it's the birth of the cups. So it's the essence of opening the heart, and opening the heart can bring all kinds of good things. So this is a very nice new moon for you. Just enjoy this lovely, you know, open-hearted, tender energy. And, you know, for those of you who are considering that you've been lonely, well, reach out, you know, be the one to say, hey, I miss you. I haven't seen you. Let's go do something. If you want to date, open that door. This is very nice. All right, Leos, what is your message? Leo, you've got the nice wealth card here, the 9 of discs. This is financially very good for you. Well, it does fall in your 8th house of money. 4 planets activating your house of money from other people. So something about thinking about your money, your long-term prospects, your investments, savings, how to increase your income. Maybe you want to use some of that imaginative Piscean energy to generate a side gig, or check out something that you could think about expanding your wealth into the future. So this is a good card. This is a good omen for you. All right, Virgos, what's your message? All right, you've got the Hangman, so that's a more difficult one, which makes sense because 4 planets in Pisces opposes your sign. It's opposite to what you're used to. It's not what you're quite comfortable with. To be that wide open and sort of wishy-washy in your opinion, squishy, wishy-washy, like you like things a little more delineated and defined and identified, then this Pisces would feel like chaos to you, you know? But it is happening in your 7th house, which is all your long relationships and commitments, partnerships, and open enemies. The Hangman for you in this new moon, you're probably taking a good hard look at something that you've been evaluating for a while, and I would imagine it's relationships. You know, Virgo, sometimes you also over-sacrifice yourself to people, even though I said it's a Pisces quality, the martyr. The Virgo can do it too. Virgo can go into like servitude instead of service. And so if there's anyone that you've been helping or hanging around that you can be honest, like, is it really mutual, or am I just waiting for them to change? Or am I sacrificing myself, hoping to help them? You might want to take a look if that's really serving you. If you resent anyone that you're helping, definitely time to pull back. The Hangman is just going to, you know, day by day make a sacrifice that over time changes the way they look at life, but it's very slow and hard to see. So some of these relationships you're evaluating could already be people that are things you're evaluating for quite a while. And you're still sort of in it slowly, taking steps to make sure that things are more mutual. And, you know, if they're not, then you pull back and you take a look at what's going on with you, you know? All right, Libra. And now we know this includes Putin. Victory. And it is a Leo card. Well, I won't think about it in terms of him. Obviously, that's clearly what he wants, but that's not what we see in this chart. For you, Libra, what I'd say is it's a very nice new moon. There's some level of feeling that you're succeeding at something that you weren't for a while. Something feels like it's getting slightly easier than it was. It feels to me like you've had a bit of a battle or an inner struggle, and something is smoothing out over this new moon. So it could be anything to do with other people. It could be just all the conflict that's been going on around us has been disturbing you, as it would anybody, but it would really disturb Libras. And something seems like you know, with all that lovely Pisces energy and this caring energy in the air, empathy in the air, maybe you'll just sort of feel like there's an edge that's taken off, a pressure that's not as intense emotionally on you or psychologically or on your relationships. Otherwise, I don't get a otherwise huge sense of like a victory, you know, march over something else that you're doing. It feels more like a, you know, the victory is feeling more content, more at peace, less edginess, better flow with people. All right, let's see for you, Scorpio. So Scorpio, you've got the Princess of Discs. And if you can see, she looks sort of like she's pregnant almost. She's shining her wand downwards. Very Scorpionic, that image, you know? Putting the light downwards, like we said, down the rabbit hole, looking at the dark side, the truth, what's underneath. She's got all this fur cloak, and she's pointing the light downwards as if she wants to like know what's underneath this cloak that I'm carrying, you know, that's covering the ground. How can I illuminate what's under there, what's underneath, make some sense of it? And she's got all these branches and stuff around her, like she's deep in the woods, and she looks like almost in the middle of a ritual, trying to shed some light and understand something amongst chaos, you know? But she's got so much light around her, so much power, and such a strong connection to nature that she slowly finds very smart practical ways to get problems solved, or to get what she needs. So it has a feeling of like a nice energy for you of slow and steady and practical, methodical, doing one or two things at a time, bit by bit, will give you slowly this clarity. It's not like ripping off the cloak all at once to reveal something. It's slower than that, and that's fine. So I would say overall, it's a good new moon for you, and you just need some patience. Patience with yourself. Patience that things are revealing slowly. Patience that things are being acted on and solved slowly. Oh, that's sort of a nice message. I like that. Sagittarius. 5 of Cups. So emotionally disappointed. Sometimes this is, sometimes it's depressing, this card. Sometimes it's letting go of others. Your hopes about somebody sort of disappointed, deflated, not who you thought they were. You might have been trying to have communications or talks with people, and it's not going so well. This is this card is Mars and Scorpio, so there's a lot of again, battle of wills and some deep anger, some deep resentment going on. The cups are empty, and the water is dark, and there's red skies. So it could be that you might have exhausted every angle of this conversation with someone or of this relationship. Doesn't mean things are over, but they might certainly need a long pause, a hiatus, a timeout, a regroup. Let a little bit of time pass, let a little bit of life happen before you revisit. Because otherwise it runs the risk of sort of, if you keep going with whatever you're doing or whoever, it's sort of like it gets harder, it gets harsher to keep going, because it feels like there's nothing to draw from, or not much left to draw from. So it's giving me the feeling that you're sort of at an impasse with someone, And it would be good to just lay low and let it go for a while. I don't think there's a loss of the actual connection or job or whatever it is that's gotten to that level. It doesn't feel like it's gone. It just feels like it needs time to just stand still and regroup. And so do you. All right, Capricorn, what is your message? So you've got lust, passion, strength card. So most of the time, the strength card is a woman taming the lion. Here, she's riding the lion. She doesn't even need to tame it. She already trusts it. So she can just ride it. So there's no trying to control your desire or animal nature. She's already one with it. And she's just like, yeah, bring it on. Let me just drink the fruit of life here. Let me draw from this amazing source energy and do something great. And so all of those planets aligning with you, with Capricorn, especially for those of you, if you're born at 27 degrees, so close to the end of Capricorn, holy, Mars, Venus, and Pluto. This is passionate. So you might channel that into your work. You might channel that into your partner, your kids. You might channel that into, like I said, running the marathon, even though you haven't done any exercise in 10 years. You might put that into like the most major house reno you've ever done. But it is fierce and it's passionate and it's intense and just like you've got it in you to do it right now. If you're making a big change, if you're like, screw this, I don't want this career anymore, I'm getting out, I'm doing something else, it's a good time. Go for it. Go for it. All right, Aquarius, what is your message? All right, you are getting into arguments. Two of Wands is always arguing, pissing contests, that kind of one-upping, competing. Sometimes it can be nasty. Sometimes it could be just really petty. Oh yeah. Power tripping. Someone's doing that to you. Careful that you're not doing that with others. Careful that you're not starting any unnecessary arguments, just to be sure, because this is not fun, It could be debating, but usually Mars and Aries is more aggressive than just an intellectual debate. It's more raw, it's more personal, Definitely it can be rebellious. Maybe you're picking your battles right now. Maybe you've got a good damn reason for taking somebody on. And if you do, they better watch out, right? But if you don't need to be engaged in it, then just make sure that you're not sort of, for lack of a better word, like enjoying arguing too much. Some people do. Some people get their fire, get their energy from a little bit of friction. And maybe you like it, but maybe the people around you don't. Like you just don't want to be causing or part of or enabling any unnecessary conflict. But if it is necessary, you're going to step up and fight and tell them off. So they better be careful. And Pisces, for you, what is your message? You have a nice money message too. Look at that. Got a couple of signs with money coming in. So this is very nice. I mean, sometimes Jupiter can bring that. It can bring a windfall of some sort, chunk of money, investment, something you have a chance to be a part of, applying or asking for a loan or for some help or borrowing or very nice. Think about where you might have some access to some resources to help you along. Very nice. And I never encourage lotteries and stuff because it's just the odds are like. So this is more like, renegotiate a loan or a mortgage. See if you can come out ahead. Ask your bank if there's anything that they see that you're doing where you could tighten up your money so that you suddenly have more at your disposal. Maybe some of you, maybe you can apply to up your credit limit on something. Maybe there are contests for things that you could do that you're talented at and you could win some money. It's more likely stuff like that than the 649. But it's a very nice card to see wealth around you. And if it isn't material wealth, well, then you will instead feel that you have a sense of wealth from what you have in your life. You're grateful for your home, for your family, for your pets, for the good food on your table, for the blessings that you have. You will feel like you have some wealth. So I always forget to mention this at the beginning of the video, but anyway, if any of you are still here, if you want to click subscribe and follow and share and all that stuff. And I have the link to my Patreon in the bottom if you just want to support my free content. Any little bit will help me to grow things and create other cool projects off of these videos. So I hope some of you consider subscribing. All right, have a wonderful new moon. It's going to be lovely. It really is. Enjoy it. Allow yourself to feel good. Enjoy it for as long as it lasts, and have a great cycle until I see you at the new moon.